Did you know that reggaeton music might not have actually existed if it weren't for the building of the Panama Canal? You see, while the Panama Canal was being built in the early 1900s, this brought over a huge influx of Jamaican immigrants, who throughout their generations of existing in Panama brought over popular Jamaican music styles, eventually also bringing over reggae and dancehall, also translating their own music into Spanish. This new genre became known as reggae en español. Here's where we see some main artists coming out of the fray, like El General, Nando Boom, which were kind of the early pioneers of this new genre of reggae and dancehall in Spanish. So how did reggae en español become what we know today as reggaeton? Puerto Rico, and also kind of New York City. After reggae en español became super popular in Panama, a lot of Panamanian immigrants made their way to New York, donde convivían, where they used to live alongside a lot of Puerto Ricans. In cities like New York City at the time, hip-hop was all the rage. And so as you do in the club, in la disco, you start mixing certain genres with other ones. And so hip-hop, dancehall, and reggae en español were all being mixed into one new kind of genre. So both in New York City as well as Puerto Rico, people basically were remixing the remix to make sort of what we know today as earlier versions of reggaeton. But at this time, reggaeton was not mainstreamed whatsoever. It was super underground, like pass your mixtape on the street type thing, making it a lot more heavy than what the original reggae en español kind of was, introducing that more hip-hop vibe to it. Now, because a lot of the lyrics of these early mixtapes were pretty vulgar, most radio stations in New York and Puerto Rico were refusing to play this music. So it was considered a pretty underground movement, very similar to the history of hip-hop. But as things happened, people started seeing this genre as pretty cool, right? Like that dembow with rap over it started becoming more and more popular and asked for in the club. And this is where some key artists come out, like Tego Calderon, Ivy Queen, Don Omar, all of who kind of took that genre of underground reggaeton and made it a little bit more commercialized, which then, of course, tipped off these record labels, where for the first time they saw reggaeton as something of commercial interest. So after the industry's acceptance of reggaeton as a genre was where we kind of get the golden era of reggaeton in the early 2000s. And this golden era of temazos, let me tell you, was known and loved by Latin Americans worldwide. So how did reggaeton go from being just loved by Latin Americans to being loved by the rest of the world? A variety of different sources, but mostly it can be attributed to MTV playing Latino and reggaeton music on their channel, as well as crossover collaborations, as we remember with songs like Despacito, which was one of the first songs that crossed over Spanish with artists like Justin Bieber. Yeah, I guess thanks to the Panama Canal for bringing us reggaeton, and thanks to the Jamaicans for starting all of this story.